My name is Emily Faulkenberry. I'm in the 8th grade and I will be participating in the illustrated demonstrations and I will be in the communications and visual arts category. Today I'm going to be showing you how to make an out of the ordinary flower like this. So one of the main keys of this flower is simple shapes. Simple shapes are everything when it comes to this flower. All your petals and your vines and everything you use is just a simple shape that's easy to draw. So let's talk about the petals real fast. An easy petal to start and use throughout your entire flower is a triangle. They're easy to build off of and they're just easy to draw. The next one I'm going to show you is the Hershey's Kiss. I call them this because of their round shape and because they just look like a Hershey's Kiss. So there's two different types. There's a more curved one or there's more of a rounded one. I have both of them drawn up here for you to see. Another type of petal that I use are domes. I use 3 different types. The skinny dome is one that I don't use as often because it's a little bit harder to draw and make it look good with your flower. I would normally use this at the beginning or like I did in this where I put it in between the flower petals. The second type of dome I use is just a normal dome. I would normally use them in the middle, like right before the end, because they make it look clean when you finish it off. The last type of dome is the big dome. I call it this because it is the biggest petal I use. It can stretch really wide and be really tall as well. Now, you're probably wondering, why did I skip this one? It's because all of the other petals have one thing in common, for sure. They can be used anywhere in the flower. This one, not so much. I would only use this flower at the very end because it is very hard to build off of. Because if you have a petal going like this and another petal going like this, you can't really build off of that and make it look good. So I would only use it at the end. Plus, when you draw it, it makes your eyes move. It makes your eye want to move across the entire flower. So now that we've talked about petals, let's talk about the other key. The other key is adapting. Adapting is a huge part of drawing these flowers. You have to be able to look at your flower and say, oh, well, this isn't right, but this looks good too. You have to change the little details in order to make the big details. So now that we're done, we're going to start with our flower. So now that you've seen our flower, I'm going to draw one very similar. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off with just a circle. So I'm going to take my Hershey's Kiss because that was an easy one to build off of and an easy one to start off with. So you're just going to take your Hershey's Kiss and make it around your entire flower. And it is totally okay for them to not be the same size or look exactly the same because you can make that up later. So now that I have my first row done, we're going to move on to the second row. In all of your flowers, you want them to expand and be bigger, so you don't want to leave it just like this. So how I'm going to do this is anytime you add on to a second row, well, almost anytime, you're going to take it off the sides. So I'm going to do another row of these because they're so small and I want them to be noticeable. So I'm going to build off of the sides of my first row. So it looks like they're in between them. And on your second and third and fourth and however many rows you have, all of your rows besides your first one, you're not really going to have a bottom of your petal. So like in the examples, when I drew them like this, but you're not really going to have that on your second and your third row. Your bottom will be made up by your circle or the petals underneath it. So now let's move on to a bigger petal. I'm going to go ahead and do an ending petal because of the time and I want it to look nice. So I'm going to use the dolphin fin. The dolphin fin and your domes are very important. When you're using your big dome or your middle dome and your dolphin fin, you don't build off of the center. You don't build off of your other petals. You build off of the top of them instead of the side. So when I make my dolphin tail, I'm going to bring it up and I'm going to bring it in. And I can make them as big as I want. And they can reach as far or they can be as fat as you want them to. So you're just going to build. But one thing with the dolphin tails is you have to make sure they're all going the same way. If I have some going this way and some going the other way, your eye doesn't move. So now that I've finished my flower, I'm going to add vines. Vines and color are ways to make it more realistic and make your eye move around more. So one way I add vines is through the stem. Your stem needs to come from the closest to the bottom, and you just draw kind of a curvy line and then draw another one that kind of corresponds with your first one. And at the bottom you can even add a little wave and add some grass if you want. A way to make your stem more interesting is to add thorns, which are just like your dolphin tail. You just come up and go out. And another thing I've learned through art is odds look better than evens. So I'm going to use 3. Another way to add vines is in between your petals. A simple vine like that. So I like to add these in between my petals on the start of, at the meeting point. So they're very simple and they look nice and they kind of add a little more flair. So I'm not going to do my vine where my stem is because that is a vine in itself. There are other ways to use vine, but this is one of the easiest. So now that I have this finished, if I wanted to, I could color it, but I'm not going to because coloring is a complete way to express yourself in your thing, and you can't really be told how to do it. You just kind of have to let the colors flow. So these are very fun to do, they're easy to do, and they don't take up much time. You can sit down and do them, and once you're done for that period of time, you can move, and you can always come back and add on later. So I hope you enjoyed my presentation and consider drawing these in the future. This is a very easy drawing style, and it's very fun to do. It can also be very stress relieving. So as you can see, even though I had little mistakes like spacing and how big they were and their different shapes, it still turned out to be quite beautiful. Thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed.